Good afternoon. The theme of today's presentation by Priva will be regarding indoor growing and digitization. So how do we make use of emerging technologies in our fully controlled environments? So after a brief introduction, I will share Priva's observations on the most important trends that we are faced with today and for the coming decades. Then I will share my vision on the opportunity that indoor growing provides and its role in food security and the markets that we currently identify. So finally, I will introduce some of the technologies that we think will benefit growers and investors alike to mitigate some of the risks and capitalize on some of the opportunities associated to indoor growing and digitization. So as Priva, we have a very clear ambition. We want to be known as the leading technology and service provider for sustainable urban deltas, which we define as circular economies that are based on green tech and smart buildings. And our mission is to create an optimal environment in which people and plants experience the best way to grow, using our leading edge technology, products, and knowledge. As Priva, we are active in a couple of different market spaces, or as we call them, verticals. So as you might know us as a horticulture automation company, we've been active for over 60 years and are the global leading supplier of high-end automation in this space. Over the past 3 decades, we've also developed a building automation market on which we are, at least in the Netherlands, a market leader. And over the past 10 years, we've combined our expertise in both horticulture and building automation to a market that we call indoor growing and that we are discussing today. So really the best of both worlds. So some facts and figures. We are a globally operating business. We employ around 450 to 500 people, and we lean heavily on partners and distributors within these different areas. So we provide hardware, software, and services to help support the needs of automation in horticulture, utility buildings, and obviously indoor growing. So my role at Priva is I am the head of business development for indoor growing, which means that on the one hand, I set the development roadmap for indoor growing, for our indoor growing vertical with product development. And on the other hand, I prioritize how we engage with these emerging markets. So I have a background in sustainable business and innovations, and I get excited about technology-related venturing because it's high risk and high reward. And I think it's a big driver for change. So let's look at some of the trends and observations that we see as Priva and that we think are going to play an important role in the success of indoor growing, but also controlled environment or agriculture. So again, the world population is growing rapidly. We are looking at about 9 to 10 billion people in the next 3 decades. And there will be a growing attention of this emerging middle class for healthy living, for consumers that demand a healthy environment and access to safe and nutritious food. Now, climate change affects our surroundings and it threatens our health and safety needs. So we need to take action on problems such as nitrogen emissions, fresh water shortage. But at the same time, we also see, and I think a lot of the growers will identify with this issue, a lack of skilled workers, which means that we have to tackle these challenges in a different way. So we see an increasing demand for food that is produced locally and as sustainably as possible. This asks for an effective and efficient production of food in controlled environmental agriculture. So for growers as well as for investors, this is a big opportunity to scale up your business and increase your market share. But with fewer technically skilled people available to run these operations, it calls for an increased level of automation and a deeper understanding of the market as well. So what is the role of indoor growing? Well, today we want to dive into that a little bit more. And we believe that indoor growing plays an important role in the sustainable food production of the future. But a quick spoiler, indoor farming will not replace in any way traditional agriculture. And in most cases, it won't even replace high-tech greenhouses, right? But together with a mix of novel technologies, it can contribute in a large way to making the food chain more sustainable, more resilient, and more cost-effective. What is indoor growing? We define it as growing crops indoors in a fully controlled and clean environment, in a natural way, without pesticides and with the smallest amount of water. So with indoor growing, you can produce year-round, close to cities, with minimal transportation and waste. And for production, it means that you can ensure availability of high-quality crops in regional markets where continuous fresh produce is not present. But for research and development purposes and for pharmaceuticals, it's a way to quickly discover new crop recipes and to breed new varieties for cultivation that you can then apply in greenhouses or even in full field. And this is possible because an indoor farm does not have to deal with externalities, right? We can create the perfect conditions for this crop to grow, regardless where this farm is, which makes indoor farms de facto an augmentation of reality. Like we can load real-time climate, lighting, and irrigation set points into the system and augment a crop cycle scenario that could exist also in real life. But alternatively, we can breed cultivar that respond optimally to indoor environments that maybe currently don't exist, because currently we are breeding for markers like high pest resistance or high cold resistance, and looking into breeds that will resonate more with this indoor environment will make the business case also more viable. So as Priva, we take responsibility to make sure that farmers interface with these systems well, that we have a closed loop climate control system that integrates with your irrigation, but also with your lighting. And that obviously altogether is a package that we call precision crop management. So let's look at a couple of the segments that we identify. And I think there are two main ones today. We see vegetables and leafy greens at about 2.5 billion with a compound annual growth rate of 15%. And we see the medicinal crops and R&D with a 12 billion euro market in 2020 with a 14% compound annual growth rate. So they are different from a controls perspective and from a sort of how do you build your farm, how do you design your farm perspective, because medicinals and R&D are very much focused on a super high level of precision and have to conform to a lot of regulations, right? So regulatory compliance regarding GACP and GMP is very important. In the vegetable and leafy green space, on the other hand, there are different factors at play. So it's a tight business case with small margins. So you need to have a cost price advantage from a supplier perspective. And that means you need to standardize your offering as a controls company, right? So for food production facilities, Priva standardizes its proposition in its portfolio, but also through original equipment manufacturers. And the responsibility of this vegetable and leafy green grower, I think, is threefold. They need to be able to have value chain control. They need to have access to the retail market, but they also need to standardize at scale and to improve at scale. And this requires a level of automation and insights into key processes that make use of emerging technology. And this is, I think, where Priva can play a significant role. So it is important, as we mentioned, to have insights into the key processes, which can be anything from your irrigation strategy to your lighting strategy, your climate controls, your labor and crop insights. And over the past years, more and more technologies have become available. And these technologies make it possible to change the way we control our indoor farms and the way we use the available resources. So all these developments are coming together now, and they've made it possible to change the way we control our farm. And we believe as Priva, it's time for a different approach. It's time that we connect and work together to benefit from these latest technologies. And the way we did that is to basically create an open platform. So we base our technology in the cloud and we integrate all processes in your business on site via low-level communication protocols like Botnet and Modbus, in the cloud via high-level protocols like APIs and MQTT. We are ready for this, the new way of managing your farm. And I just want to quickly zone in on what that really means, because there are three factors at play here. We have the cloud, the open platform, where we already have some services available, but where we also want to integrate with third parties to get new technologies and new software available to you quickly. There's a gateway that basically communicates all that knowledge from the cloud to that on-site ecosystem of technology, which constitutes of climate systems, energy systems, irrigation systems, third-party sensors, etc., etc. And we want to create an interplay between the two. So we want to make sure that you have an on-site control platform that will work regardless, but that we can optimize through the cloud. So again, the roots are in measuring and control technology. The gateway securely transmits that data to the cloud. And we connect these systems through the cloud to unlock new possibilities, to further innovation based on big data analysis and artificial intelligence. And we want to bring our strategic partners to you. We want to make sure that we connect to all these different ecosystem players and make sure that you get the best possible available technology. And in this way, we can unlock new possibilities, right? We have a different way of doing our planned check-act cycle and to optimize. So this is really my call to action and something that I hope we can discuss in the panel discussion after this. For growers, for technology providers, get connected. We are ready. Together, we can scale the indoor growing space more effectively and more efficiently and more rapidly. And we're building on proving technology in the marketplace, right? So we hope that you join us, and I'm looking forward to discussing this with the other presenters. Thank you.